Hello, you little firecrackers. How are you doing? Today I'm talking about being at the end of your tether and the fact that that's probably not true. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So I was asking the emissaries the other day, I said, how are you guys? How are you doing? And they said, we're doing really well, really enjoying our work, except that sometimes we're frustrated. We're frustrated that we can't help you more. They said that we can only work within our remit, and therefore we would like to be able to help more, but we're not allowed. You know, it's not our business, and so we're not allowed to get too involved, okay? Which they find frustrating because obviously, you know, in terms of capacity, they are capable of helping us in big ways, but they're not allowed to. You know, God is a non-interventionalist God, doesn't get involved in the nitty-gritty on the timeline. And the emissaries who were sent by God still can't get involved either. They're under the same rules. And they said to me, we find it frustrating. For example, we heard you the other day, right? And they reminded me of I had a little moment where I just heard loads of shit stuff that was happening. And I just said, I'm just so sick of this. I was like, I said, I'm so tired of this. But I wasn't talking about being tired, you know, tired, physically tired or mentally tired. I was talking about ticked off. I was really quite ticked off. And that is a very, very British way of saying I was up to fucking here. Yeah. I was ticked off with what was happening in the world, especially, you know, when you see stuff happening and nothing's done about it, all these open loops. I was getting very vexed with the open loops. And they said, we heard you say that you were at the end of your tether. And they reminded me of something I learned a long time ago about the end of our tether. You know, how long is our tether and what is a tether? I don't even know. It's something you tie a horse with? Yeah, that's it. So you're at the end of your tether, okay? So, and you can try this. If you've got a willing victim, you can try this. So what you can do is this. You can say to somebody, right, come on, test. Do as many press-ups as you can, but I want you to do them to failure until you cannot do any more. Okay? And so obviously if, you know, probably find somebody young, somebody, somebody who doesn't think, there's no way I'm doing that, I've just had my lunch. So they start doing the press-ups, and you know, if they're good at them, they might even get up to, you know, 50, 100 or whatever. If they're not good, it might be 3 or 4. Okay? And they do it to failure. You help them on. Go on, come on, one more. Yeah? And then they collapse on the floor. And then you say to them, brilliant. Look, do me a favor. Just do one more. Just one more. And that's it. And they go, oh my God. Whoa. And surprisingly, they can do one more. And if you push them, you say, look, right, sorry, I lied. I want you to do one more. And they'll do one more. What it shows, that little test, is that when we think that we are at the end of our tether, when we think that we are failed at the level of failure, we're not. There's more. We've got more. We've always got more. To get to the very end of your tether, you've got to be in a very, very bad place. And I don't think that we're in that sort of place. Yeah, we get pissed off. I'm pissed off frequently. You know, I'm ticked off. I look at things and think, for God's sake, literally, for God's sake, how long is this going to go on? I've been awake for 21 years. It's really pissing me off. I think that's long enough. Maybe I should have waited. Maybe, why did I write into my plan to wake up so early? You know, I was just hanging on to David Icke's hand. Why did I do it? Awful. But then I think, no, because I've been able to do some beautiful things and I've been able to learn some beautiful things and it's been wonderful. Except that I'm often ticked off. all right, every now and again I have a Zen moment, and I think everything's wonderful, everything's as it should be. I'm just going to go inside. I'm going inwards, and I'm going back to God, and that's lovely until I get fucking ticked off again, and then I'm whoa. However, the end of my tether, I don't think in my life I have ever reached the end of my tether. There's always more. And I get the sense that you have never reached the end of your tether. We don't really understand the capacity that we've got. We have really unlimited capacity. If we think about the fact that we are part of God, we have unlimited capacity. Here it's a bit more difficult. Here, reality is quite hard. Reality is reality. Like the man who's in a auditorium and he's talking about the fact that reality doesn't exist, that all of this is just a construct. It has no solidity. It has no real existence. And he talks for an hour about that. And then he goes to sit down, really pleased with himself that he's convinced the audience that nothing is real. And he sits down and a woman next to him says, do you really believe all of that? That nothing's real, this is all just a construct? He said, of course. That's why I talked for an hour about it. And she said, great. Well, could you swap seats with me? Because I'm sitting in a terrible draft and I don't think it'll bother you. Yeah. When we get bonked on the head, no matter how much we tell us that this is not real, we are being bonked on the head. And it's not nice. And so that's why sometimes we feel that we're at the end of our tether, because we're in this 3D kind of physical realm where pain is pain, where pain hurts. Okay? But just remember, on the inside, in our depths, we have unlimited capacity. Our tether goes on forever. There you are, finished with a little rhyme. Tell me where you are with your tether. How are you feeling with your tether? I'd like to hear about it in the comments. I love you all and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.